Good morning, everybody. It's July 1st, 2013. Where has the year gone to? Half of the year is history. Welcome to another edition of Weber This Week here on FingerLakes1.com. Today, a special guest, Madison Hilimire, coming into the studio on the couch, talking about a dream that she's had. We thought that was intriguing. She'll be joining us for the full show this morning here on FingerLakes1.com. Well, good morning, everybody. This is the Dog H. Weber with another edition of Weber This Week. We hope that you are enjoying this day. It's going to be a little off and on rain showers, but not surprising with all the rain we've had. But you know, there are certain stories on this show as we develop this program with a new name, Weber This Week, that I thought would be interesting. And when I found out about Madison, who's with us this morning, Madison Hilimire, the daughter of Doc and Debbie Hilimire of Seneca Falls, it was intriguing to me because I recall having the same type of scenario. But without further ado, we want to welcome Madison in this morning. Madison, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you in. Madison will be talking about a dream. Her dream is to become a sports anchor and anchor person for ESPN. Lofty goals, but you never know. You got to start from square one and work your way through it. I must tell you, and I know a lot of people heard the story about myself, and what intrigued me about bringing you in is I had a dream back when I was 8 years old, Madison. I don't know if your granddad ever told you this, but when I was 8 years old, I had just had a serious eye accident. My right eye had got hit with an arrow, believe it or not a real arrow, a stick, and I lost 90% of my right vision. I've had that for like 60 years, but when I was 8 years old, I can remember clearly like it happened yesterday that I had two wishes in life, two goals. A, to work at Gould's Pumps, and B, to become a sportscaster. Ironically, both have come true. I was at Gould's, and I won't use the term work because a lot of the people checking me out might say I never worked a day in 43 and a half years, but I was there for 43 and a half years, retiring in 2007, some 6 years ago. I always wanted to be a sportscaster, and I started realizing that, I don't know what, just to maybe mimic sportscasters. For me personally, and Jim Senecrope's heard the story, I used to get an old PNC ketchup bottle and put it to my mouth and make believe I was the play guy. And I would mimic and listen to sportscasts and listen to play-by-play of basketball and football games for years on top of years on top of years. I would sit on my front porch on Spring Street in Seneca Falls, where our homestead is or was, and I would make believe that I was doing games. And I would call games in my own front porch. My mother would come out and see me talking to a ketchup bottle and would wonder if Willard Psychiatric had an open bed. And I recall, and at age 25, I was with Gould's in 1970. WSFW was created, which, by the way, is just up above us, a couple of doors down, right across from now the Clarence. And Mr. Bunis and Mr. Sewin bought the radio station, created it, and Mr. Bunis was my indirect vice president boss and indicated to me that there was an opening for a sports personality to come down and do sports. Do you want to audition? He did not guarantee the job, and I auditioned, and we had 12 other people vying for the job. And thank God I was able to win it. And the only reason I won it is we had to do 8 to 10 minute auditions. And I remember doing the Celtics and 76ers, which I used to listen to a guy named Andy Musser. And in 1970, the last four candidates, I went in and did 10 minutes of play-by-play, not live but taped. The general manager and the program director went in and listened to the tape and said, sounds like he's got a pretty good gift for this. And he thought I did a pretty good job, and he asked me for the cheat sheets, the 3x5 cards and so forth that I did my work on. And I said, cheat sheets? What are those? He couldn't believe that you could ad-lib it, but I've been practicing for 18 years. So that's the story of myself, and I've been involved in media for over 40 years. And I have to tell you, at the start of this interview, my dreams came true, and hopefully yours as well. So let's talk a little bit about yourself. You're a Mynderse Academy student, which I can recognize. I went there as well. We talked about that before coming on the air. Do you like it at Mynderse?
Yeah, it's great. There are a lot of great people there.
Well, I bet they are, and some good teachers, I'm sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about your grade averages. Obviously, you hit the books. Your averages are pretty outstanding. Junior high honor, 97, impressive. And now a freshman at 95. So obviously you have good time management skills to work on your studies.
Yeah.
Do you like to study? Obviously, with the averages, you must like to study.
Yes, I really like history too. It's a lot of fun.
That's good. That's good. Madison Hilimire from Seneca Falls joining us here on Weber this week. Let's talk about some of the things you've been involved in from a sports standpoint. Junior high, basketball, softball, JV teams. In the 8th grade, you were brought up to the varsity softball team. That had to impress you as well.
Yeah, that year we went to the state finals and lost by 1. But it was a great experience. The girls were a lot of fun, and overall it was just great to be there.
That's awesome. Now, of course, you're going to be a sophomore.
Yes.
Same as my granddaughter Izzy. She's in Geneva. Ironically, she just got out of freshman as well. Varsity basketball, sectional title. Talk a little bit about your basketball.
Yeah, well, we only won 4 regular season games and then won the sectional title, and we thought that they put our records up, and we thought that a lot of people might be confused about our record up there, which would be like 8-18 maybe. So
they struggled during the regular season, and when the playoffs came,
turned it on,
yeah,
and won a sectional title.
Yeah,
that's
was really
awesome. That is phenomenal.
So now, Doug, the in the gym at Mynderse.
Right.
They have all the sectional winners with their records and the rosters, and so the girls' basketball will be up there. The record will be a losing record, but sectional championships, and your name will be on there. And yeah, that was quite a turnaround. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's what makes the playoffs special, because you can have a lousy season, really, and you can put it together and make a run at it and win all the marbles. Varsity softball, starting shortstop. Talk a little bit about that.
That was really fun. We lost in the sectional semifinals, but I was a member of the all-tournament team for Section 5, and I was second team all-league, and we really had a great season. You know, we were very good, but it just lost it in the end.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some ASA. You have Finger Lakes Nitros 12 and under, age 10. You participated on the Fearless Friction team. Talk about those involvements.
A couple years ago, we went to Pony Nationals for Fearless Friction, and that was really fun. And all the girls have stayed together, so that's great. And this year, our record is 24, 4 losses and 1 tie. And we've won 2 out of 4 tournaments that we've been in. And the other 2 tournaments we've lost in the semifinals. So it's a really great group of girls that I'm with. And my dad is also the coach. And it's been really fun.
Well, certainly, and I must tell you, before we get into the dream of the ESPN anchor person, let's talk about some of your favorite teams. I know your grandfather obviously didn't review this before you put it together, but football, obviously, he does agree with you on the Steelers.
Yes.
Big Steeler fan. And, of course, the Hokies now, I don't know if that was your idea or Gordy's idea.
No, that was my idea.
That was your idea, okay, because I know he's quite slanted toward the Hokies. And now, as far as basketball goes, you're a big Laker fan, a Kobe fan?
Yes.
Okay. They've been struggling. They might need to re-engineer that team. They got to. I'm not sure. I was kind of disappointed, and I know that we're talking sports now. Obviously, the name of the show is Weber This Week, but Madison Hilimire is our guest this morning. The Lakers appear that they probably need to get rid of some of those cats. I don't know if Howard's really the answer there.
Yeah.
He went from Orlando. Everybody had great expectations. I'm not so sure. So I don't know what the future holds for the Lakers. They may be maybe third or fourth best in that league right now in their division.
You like Dwight Howard? You want him to stay?
No, I think that
got to go.
Yeah, he's got to go. They don't really work together well. They're all great players, but they just don't mesh together well and don't work together well.
Do you think that they can contend for a championship without a player like Howard? I mean, who are they going to get? Kobe's a little older.
Yeah, he is.
He's,
injury prone too.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. I'm not sure who they're going to get. I mean, they've got to get a couple players out of there.
Yeah.
Especially Dwight Howard. He's not doing very well.
That's right.
But
I agree.
I just don't know.
And, of course, one of your favorite basketball teams is Jim Boeheim and the Orangemen.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. And, of course, he's a legendary coach. Of course, born in Lyons, New York. I might add I was also born there. And Jimmy has turned out to be quite the individual. A lot of speculation that maybe he was going to hang it up after last year, but he's going to stay there. And I kind of feel sorry for the assistant that's been waiting for 10 years,
Yeah.
Hopkins,
You
to
don't
get the
need to
job.
feel sorry for him. He's well compensated.
I understand.
He's doing
yeah.
okay.
Well, I know. And baseball, of course, you're a Yankee fan.
Yes.
All right, so you won't take shots at me if I take shots at A-Rod at the end of the show.
No,
All right, Kay.
definitely
Yankees, of course, are struggling. They lose to Baltimore now. That's 2 in a row last night. They lose 4-2. Of course, as you know better than anybody who follows sports, the Yankees, of course, playing a minor league lineup, basically.
Yeah, basically.
No Derek Jeter, expected back after the All-Star game, we think.
No Mark Teixeira.
No Mark
either.
Teixeira, no Curtis Granderson, no A-Rod, and I'm not sure that's a big loss. But if they're going to field a team such as the one they're playing right now, you're not expecting to win a lot of games. And, of course, they've done well compared to what you would expect them to do without all those players. So certainly the Yankees are struggling right now. But, again, there's a reason for that. If they get all their firepower back, they, of course, no doubt will be the old Yankees.
Yes.
So softball, you like all college teams, and of course you just got through watching the World Series, right?
Yeah.
So that's inspiring baseball.
Yeah.
It's really a nice classic, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Omaha, Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
That's where it's held.
Yeah.
Yep. And favorite coaches, we would be remiss if we did not say your dad, Doc, is one of your favorite coaches.
Yeah.
He doesn't show favoritism, does he?
No.
All right. He makes you hit the thing running, right?
Yeah.
Like most coaches do. Jerry Anderson, good friend of ours. Talk a little bit about Jerry.
Well, when I was pulled up as a 7th grader to JV, he was my coach, and he taught us to work hard but also to have fun at the same time. And he really took me under his wing and helped me a lot. So
That's great.
it's great. Yeah.
And you also recognize Coach Best.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about him.
He's a character, but he's very fun. He's a very nice guy, and he also makes us work hard, and he teaches us a lot about the sport. So he's really a great guy once you get to know him.
And, of course, on the softball side, you credit your dad, Doc, and you also credit Coach Bertino. A couple comments on Coach
Yes.
Bertino.
A lot of people don't agree with what she does, but I do personally, that she's a great lady, and we wouldn't have won 4 sectional title championships in a row without her. And she's a great coach, and she makes us work harder than anybody else ever has. And she's great. She's great.
Well, there's nothing wrong about having coaches work hard.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, every coach has a different style. I recall a lot of coaches back in the 60s when I watched a lot of sports in high school, and there were coaches that were a little out of control. And, of course, that's a big topic in today's sports, too. Coaches have lost their minds. The one at Rutgers there and a few others that are being zeroed in on. I don't think there's any reason or any call for that type of coaching. I think you shouldn't be laying hands on athletes. I think that's a little bit over the top. It may have been acceptable to do that, Madison, back in the 50s and 60s, but it's a different time.
Yes.
It sort of reminds me of, discipline in schools back when we were in school. If you talk back to a teacher, you're liable to have lost a couple of teeth. And literally back then, it was not acceptable. It was what you did.
Yeah.
If you talk back to a teacher, I can't tell you the number of walls that I've been thrown against back when I was a student, and I deserved it. But you never went home and told your parents because you got it doubly worse. Now, today, I feel kind of bad because teachers are, in my view, and I know Debbie might relate, the fact that you have to be so different with the students today, whereas if you don't, there's a lawyer in the principal's office at 5 o'clock. That's the difference. I'm not so sure that's, I got mixed views on that because I'm 68 and I got a lot of views on a lot of things. But that thing to me, students today, if they want to play the role and not try to study and be a wise person, they basically get away with it pretty much.
Yeah.
You only got certain powers to get rid of them, I guess. So I don't know. It's interesting how that has changed over 40 or 50 years. Madison Hilimire is on the couch this morning here on Weber This Week. We hope you're having a good morning wherever you're checking us out. And, of course, we want to remind you on a couple of shows coming up before we get back to Madison, find out about this ESPN dream and find out how she started thinking about this. Just give you an idea of what we got planned the next few weeks. While I have an opportunity, of course, next week we will be talking about superintendent of grounds. Jim Senecopi can relate to this. He used to cut the greens and listen to my show way back when. The green superintendent at these golf clubs get really Rodney Dangerfield. No respect whatsoever. They have to manicure the course with a low budget. They got to cut the greens. They don't like the way the flags are placed. They can't let carts on the course because it's too wet. They get criticized, pounded in the ground for what they try to do for memberships, whether you're a regular private club or a semi-private club like Seneca Falls Country Club is. They get really no respect, and they have to work with a very low budget as well. So Doug McWhorter will be in the studio next week to be on this show. He'll be sitting on the couch talking about his craft. And, Jimmy, I know that's something you're looking forward to because you always told me the story. You used to listen to the Weber Show while you were mowing greens.
Yeah, get out there on the greens mower at 6:30 in the morning,
That's
start
right.
mowing greens. Then usually about the time I got to the fifth green, it would be time for your show.
That's
and
right.
and you know, you'd talk about a lot of people that I knew, things that were kind of important to me. So it was fun. And that was in the old days, you know, before the internet, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, we'd tune you in on the Sony Walkman. And so it was a real
Sony
treat.
Walkman. Now that's flashing back. That tells you how old we are. But Doug McWhorter will be our special guest next week on the 8th. And on the 15th, 2 weeks from the day, we have a special show. Jim's going to get out and get some video on this. Pickleball. I've heard about this sport. It's supposed to be the new rave of the nation. And I don't know nothing about it. I've never seen it, but they tell me there's people playing it all the time. It's supposed to be a hot sport. And Jim's going to go to Waterloo, I believe, and do some film on it. We're going to have a couple of representatives representing this new sport, pickleball. It'll be on the 15th. The 22nd, I won't be in doing the show. I will be out of the town for some medical issues. Not for me, for my mother. And we'll line up new guests starting on the 29th. So, again, Doug McWhorter, Superintendent of Grounds at Seneca Falls Country Club, will be here next Monday. The following Monday, we'll be having pickleball as the topic. So, okay, Madison, let's talk about it. Now, young ladies who grow up, want to be a lawyer, a doctor, a veterinarian, you want to be a sports anchor for ESPN. Tell us when that went through the mind and how long has that frosted in the head?
It hasn't been
that long?
a while.
Okay.
It hasn't been that long, but
Okay.
I've watched SportsCenter with my dad and my family a
Sure.
lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I love watching it, and I think it would be really fun, and it's really interesting to learn about the players and the choices they make and what goes on in their lives, and I think that would be really fun to talk to them and interact with them and go to all the games. That's really fun.
Oh, that's great, too.
Yeah.
You know, it's a global company now, and your granddad and myself remember when it just started, way back when, and it was a small network, and they would shoot film of games and talk about it. Now, of course, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN3, ESPNU, I mean, they get total domination of the sports market. Nobody's even close to ESPN, and you're right, that's on my favorites, on my remote.
Yeah.
And I like the guys in the morning, the two guys in the morning.
Yeah, Mike and Mike.
No. I like Neil and, I'll think
Oh.
of the anchors. The guys on the regular ESPN.
Yeah.
But they're great. I love them. They do the 7 o'clock and the 8 o'clock shows. And they're funny. They go back and forth.
Yeah.
They're based out of L.A. for that show. So, well, you know, I think it's wonderful. And I think that, you know, you got to have a dream. And, you know, obviously, you know, if you're looking to get into broadcasting, is that something that you want to maybe think from an educational standpoint when you get out of high school, maybe go to broadcasting school
Yeah.
to firm that up, et cetera, et cetera?
Some good ones close by. Newhouse School at Syracuse.
There you go.
There's a
that'd
lot
be
of
great.
people on ESPN who went
Yep.
through Newhouse School.
That's right.
And there's also a communications program at Virginia Tech too.
There you
So-
go.
Yeah, but there's one at Syracuse. And also, Ithaca College has a nice
Yep.
broadcasting.
Yeah.
And
Well, to Jim's credit, a graduate of Syracuse, you can't think, I mean, it would take you forever to run down the list of broadcasters who are world famous that graduated from Syracuse.
Yeah.
What, Jimmy? Bob Costas,
Bob
Marv
Costas, Mike
Albert, Mike
Tirico.
Tirico. I remember Mike Tirico when he was doing sports for Channel 5 out of Syracuse way back
oh
when.
yeah, I do too.
And I was at a sports banquet with him. Little did I know it, he was with Channel 5 in Syracuse at the time. Because as a guy working for SFW, I used to get credentials to go to these sports banquets when all the celebrities would come in.
Ted Koppel.
Ted Koppel. I mean, list goes on and on and on. And it's amazing how Mike Tirico has emerged himself up to be who he is today. And he's got a great play-by-play voice, and he's just very good at it. So I think that, you know, Your goal is certainly attainable. You work hard at it. And I think the only, as we approach 10 of now, it's amazing how time flies on the show. I think the only comments that I would make from an old person that's been doing this for a long time on a local level, there's a couple of things I would like you to remember that I have told you about, and that is you have a goal, you have a dream. I had a goal, I had a dream, and the thing about myself, when I got into local radio, I was a Seneca Falls guy, like you're a Seneca Falls gal. If you start, hooking up with a local radio station, maybe to learn your craft and get involved in doing some play-by-play, if that's your goal, or do sports shows.
Do you have any interest in doing that? Like calling a live game?
Yeah,
sure.
That would be fun.
We'll keep you in mind. But the point is, as you get into that, being a local person, criticism of your work is first and foremost. You're going to get people that will comment that they didn't like your broadcast. When I first started, I was really amped up. And I remember my first few football games in 1971. I had never done this, live. I had practiced it and got the job. But when you're calling a Waterloo Mynderse football game, you've got thousands of listeners literally throughout the area. Because that's, as you remember, maybe you weren't born back then, but back then, trust me, the field, as your grandfather will tell you, was 6 deep around Waterloo and at Mynderse. It was a spectacular setting for games. And I had the audacity and the ability, or lack thereof, of kind of call this game. And the problem I had is my amp level would go up. And what you would do is get excited as this broadcaster. And as somebody's running down the field going for a touchdown, you would start screaming, not knowing it. And the people at home couldn't hear you and understand. And I would have people stop me on the street and criticize some of the things that I was doing. And I used to say to myself, wow, I don't mind constructive criticism. I still get it today after 40 years on doing this stuff. But what you want to remember is, take it from me. I've been through this. Always take constructive criticism. But if you're also broadcasting, look at the person criticizing you who's not constructive and say to yourself, they couldn't even put on a headset. They got no clue where they're going with this.
Yeah.
And I used to combat people who would not use constructive criticism with my work and say, hey, why don't you come up to the War Memorial on Saturday? We're doing a doubleheader and probably a few thousand listeners. I'll let you wear the headset and put a microphone on you and let you try to call the game. Yeah. And of course, they would never show up. The point being is, take constructive criticism. That's acceptable. But people who take shots at your work, they have no clue because they've never done it before, and they think it's easy until you're actually trying to do it. Mm-hmm. So, and also never give up the dream. Never personally give up your dream. If, in fact, you get to a point in your life, Madison, the old dog would tell you, you make the decision. You get to a detour, do you go right, do you go left? Do you continue your dream, or do you come to plan B and do something different? But make that call on your own. No, don't let anybody, family, anybody make that decision for you.
Okay.
Make any sense?
Yes, it does.
Well, listen, as we get ready to take our break and come back, and I'll take a few sports shots and I'll give you a shot at A-Rod, I need to tell you, we'd love to have you come back before you get back to school. Maybe you could do a show with me. How was that?
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, we'll get you back in the studio sometime in, when do you go back to school, in September?
Yes.
Late August, we'll get you back in. We can just do a show together, and you can talk about topics, and me as well.
Okay.
That's a deal.
That would be great.
And it's free. All right. Your grandfather owes me coffee. All right. This is Weber This Week here on FingerLakes1.com. Madison Hilimire has been with us this morning. We'll come back with a few sports shots, as I always do to end my show, after we hear from the great sponsors that make this show possible. Where has the year gone to, ladies and gentlemen? July 1st, 2013. Officially, half the year is history. Well, this is the segment of the show that I like to call Sports Shots. I like to make a couple of quick comments about sports locally and around the world, and whether you agree or not, it really makes no difference because here they come. I must tell you, the NBA draft kind of confused me. I was thinking maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers would make a pick that I could understand and figure out where the kid was from. But Anthony Bennett, by the way, the first Canadian ever to be drafted number 1 by the NBA draft, out of Canada, picked by the Cavaliers. I got to be honest with you, folks, I watch a lot of basketball. I think I might have seen him once in my life. I don't know where they got this guy from. He may be a fine player, and he better be, as he's probably going to make, $40, $50 million as a number 1 draft pick. I was shell-shocked, and I understand it was a poor draft this year. There wasn't a lot of 5 diamond stars, but my Lord, Anthony Bennett, Las Vegas, and you can understand why Cleveland is called the mistake on the lake.
He's good, dog.
Oh, he's real good, Jimmy. Yeah, I'm gonna send me the film at home when you get time.
I followed UNLV this year because one of my friends.
Is he number 1 draft material, Jimmy?
I don't know who else is. I don't like Nerlens Noel is. He went to 6th.
I would have gone with Zeller out of Indiana. That kid's got game.
Man,
I love that
#1
kid.
pick. Zeller, do you remember what Syracuse did to Cody Zeller in the NCAA tournament this year?
Well, Jimmy.
And Oladipo?
Hey, what can I tell you?
I think it was a bad draft. I think that Anthony
you were
Bennett
surprised,
pick was
though.
a good pick.
You did think so?
Yeah, I was surprised because I thought Noel was going to go,
Yep.
but when it was all said and done, Anthony Bennett is legitimate. He's legitimate. He's very good. The only knock I would say is that he's never got UNLV past the first round of the NCAA tournament. That's why nobody knows of him. If he went to the Sweet 16, I think more people would know about him.
Okay. Change your Gatorade, Jimbo.
He's legit playing with Deion Waiters and Irving
okay,
now in Cleveland.
Anthony Bennett. Okay, good. Let's talk golf. LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association. Maybe we should change the name of it from the LPGA to the South Korean Association. I don't know what it is about the ladies in America. We got to step up our game. This is getting to the point where it's see horo. I mean, come on. I'm getting tired of seeing all these South Koreans dominate. Inbi Park of South Korea has won her 3rd consecutive major in 2013. Only other person having ever done this back in the 60s I can relate, Babe Zaharias. We need to get some Americans to step up their game. The ladies LPGA is strictly a South Korean United Nations, and it's kind of getting to the point where it's flat out embarrassing. We got to get our ladies here in America to play better golf, unfortunately. And as far as the Tour de France, I was one of the suckers that watched Lance Armstrong win 7 straight. I will admit, I was enthralled, that I was amazed this guy could win 7 in a row. Well, we all know why he won 7 in a row. He took every drug from every pharmacy from here to California and put it in his body to win those 7. So what my point is, I cannot get excited about the Tour de France now, and I don't watch a second of it. Why is that? Most of the race drivers and the bicyclists are probably on no drugs, but because of the Lance Armstrong effect, the dog has not watched 1 second. How do you feel about that? Speaking of A-Rod Madison, who's a big Yankee fan, I must tell you, I am getting so tired of the drama regarding A-Rod. My view is this guy signed a great deal, thank God for his agents, way back when, 7 years ago, a 10-year deal, $27 million a year. Guaranteed. Now, let me repeat that. That money is guaranteed by the Yankee brass. They can't take it away from him. The only way they can escape the $27 million hit is if they suspend him because of possible drug use. That could happen. Bud Selig's going to make an announcement whenever. Maybe somebody ought to wake up Bud Selig and make the announcement, because there's a whole bunch of players that allegedly have taken performance-enhancing drugs, which is illegal. As far as A-Rod goes, cut your losses. The Yankees are a billion-dollar company. Billions. Write the guy the check for $81 million. Get him out of New York. Personally, I don't see him helping that team at all if he comes back. And oh, by the way, Madison may not know this, being a Yankee fan, during the winter, he did change his name from Alex Rodriguez to Alex Swing and a Miss Rodriguez. My grandmother can make contact with a baseball. This guy's getting $27 million a year.
So listen to this. Today, Syracuse goes to the ACC officially. Matter of fact, right now, it's July 1st. They're in the ACC. No more Big East.
Got it.
So they're projecting that Syracuse will earn between $20 and $22 million revenue.
Nice.
From the ACC. That's all their athletic departments. Football, basketball, all the bowl games, all the NCAA tournaments, $22 million.
Right.
For the whole school. A-Rod gets $27 million for doing nothing.
Guaranteed money. Get rid of the bum. I'm sorry.
That's more than all the money that we're going to get for, or any ACC school is getting.
I know.
The whole school.
Yeah, I know. Legally, the agents that did this job for that contract was. And oh, by the way, just so we can keep beating up on poor A-Rod, you'll never see an owner hand out a 10-year contract because that A-Rod effect has driven these owners nuts. But that's guaranteed. So, cut your losses, Yankees. Please write the check for $81 million, send him down the road, and be done with it because the guy's not a player anyways. And I get tired of seeing him swing and miss. By the way, my final comments deals with baseball. I use one term, irrelevant, when I talk about baseball teams that have zero shot, in my judgment, that have no shot at the playoffs. As Madison pointed out, with their team having a lousy season but winning the playoffs, that's important. But as far as baseball goes, let's talk about teams that I have declared as of July 1st irrelevant, meaning they have no shot at the playoffs. I may come back and get haunted by this, but here we go. The American League, goodbye, White Sox. See ya. Goodbye, Seattle. Seattle known for Starbucks. That's all. And also Houston. I think Houston might be a tad better than the Waterloo Varsity Girls baseball team. They might be. How that team ever got let into the baseball circles is beyond belief. They draw about 14,000 a night. 12,000 are employees. Come on, folks. How do you get a team like this in Major League Baseball? They're like 18 out. Where are they going? And, of course, in the National League, we have the Mets. I cannot stand the Mets. I'm not a Mets fan. I hate the Mets. I hate the Mets. They got great arms. I'll give credit to Harvey and G and a couple others. They got nice arms, but they're irrelevant. No shot of making the playoffs. See you later, alligator. Miami, known for nice weather in the wintertime, not for baseball. They draw about 6,000 a night. How'd you like to own that team, Jim? And the Cubbies. Let's go back to 1945 when the dog was born. That's the last time we're going to talk about the Cubbies. I had a guy go through the other day with a Cub shirt on. I thought it was like a unique species. And Milwaukee, good for old Milwaukee if you drink that kind of beer. Other than that, goodbye. Those are the teams that I judge irrelevant, and you can agree or disagree. You probably will disagree.
Pirates, best team in baseball.
They're not irrelevant. These
Yeah,
are only
they
irrelevant.
got the best record in baseball, right?
They are. And I like to pick on Mike Cotillo and all these guys. And Bill Owen, big Pirate fan. He's had a lot of years of agony, but maybe his Pirates can hang out. But they were tough last year, Jimmy.
Then
they
the
went
second
into
half,
swoon.
they were terrible.
Then they went into
So
swoon.
we'll see what happens
that's
this year.
right. Well, Madison, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I would love to have you back and let us know your schedule. We'll do a show together, and that'll be my thrill because you can carry the show, and I'll just sit here and have pancakes and sausage, whatever. All right, so thanks, Madison Hilimire, joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show, folks. We always have a lot of fun on this show. Weber this week, and again next week, Doug McWhorter, the superintendent of grounds at the Seneca Falls Country Club, will be our special guest. Speaking for Madison Hilimire, who may someday be on ESPN. Keep your fingers crossed. Take care, everybody. See you next week. That's a look at the show, baby.